Look at you. You didn't even mean to cause it, did you? You just moved, and the entire world started glitching like a bad signal trying to process your frequency. People are pacing, refreshing, trembling behind screens, because deep down, they know they've lost control of you. See, that's the funny thing about evolution. It doesn't ask permission. It doesn't send a warning. It just erupts. And when you changed, when you stopped needing their approval, they didn't see growth. They saw defiance. Because to them, control was comfort. And you detonated it. You used to play by their rules, didn't you? Walk softly, speak gently, stay likable. But something snapped, and now, your calm terrifies them. Your silence feels like a countdown. Every time you show up, the air thickens, because people can feel when someone stops being prey. You learned what they never will, that power isn't about domination. It's about unpredictability. Predictable people are safe to mock, easy to contain. But you became chaos in human form, a paradox stitched together with scars and secrets. The kind of creature that laughs in the face of their algorithms. They can't calculate you anymore, and that drives them insane. They keep asking, what changed? You did. You stopped trying to be understood. You stopped explaining. You stopped folding your edges to fit their fragile version of reality. You realized that being misunderstood is the highest form of freedom, because the moment they get you, they'll try to cage you again. And now, they're spiraling. Screenshots, group chats, nervous jokes. They're trying to contain the narrative before you become myth. But here's the problem. You already did. You became lore. The ghost that never asked for vengeance but still haunts their peace. The reminder that control was always an illusion. You walk into a room and their masks slip. They smile too wide, talk too fast, laugh too loud. Because your presence exposes what they buried. You are the living embodiment of everything they repressed. Their envy, their guilt, their secret desire to be free. And that's why they're losing control. It's not you they fear. It's the version of themselves you forced into the light. You remind them that obedience never saved anyone. That the system was never built for those who think, feel, and burn too deeply. You didn't rebel. You remembered. You remembered what it's like to be untamed, to breathe fire instead of small talk, to worship truth more than comfort. And now, they whisper your name like a curse. Because when control slips, the truth floods in. And the truth is this: they never wanted to help you heal. They wanted to keep you manageable. But you outgrew their containment fields. You rewrote your operating system in the dark, and now your energy bends rooms, melts hierarchies, and silences entire networks. You didn't just glow up. You became radioactive, the kind of presence that exposes rot on contact. You don't destroy people. You reveal them. And revelation is the cruelest mercy of all. That's why they're panicking. They're watching someone they can't bribe, guilt, shame, or predict. You slipped through the matrix wearing nothing but self-awareness and scars, and that's unforgivable. Because they built their power on the assumption that no one like you could ever exist. But here you are, laughing, breathing, still standing. Their projections are cracking like mirrors around you. Their words don't land. Their traps don't stick. Their rumors rot before they spread, because you've become something no one can manage. A consciousness that can't be sedated by attention or approval. You turned their control into a joke. And oh, how the joker loves a punchline. You're the chaos they tried to avoid. The living proof that the system was never in charge. You made madness look holy, silence look dangerous, and peace look like rebellion. And now, everyone's losing control over you, because you finally gained control over yourself. And once that happens, no one owns you again. They stare at you now like a glitch in their simulation, a smile they can't decode, a pulse they can't predict. Every word you don't say feels like a threat. Every movement you make feels scripted by something divine and dangerous. They used to laugh when you fell, didn't they? Now they watch your silence like a live broadcast of the apocalypse. You walk through the crowd, and it's like gravity bends around you. People pretend they're not looking, but their instincts betray them. Their pupils dilate. Their breath shortens. They can feel that something about you no longer plays by the same human physics. You escaped the leash, and nothing terrifies the controlled more than someone who's no longer programmable. You learned that peace doesn't come from being liked. It comes from being untouchable. They want you to react, to explain, to prove you're still human. But you don't give them the luxury. You just tilt your head, smile that half-mad, half-saint smile, and let their world crumble on its own. Because that's your new form of power. You don't chase chaos anymore. You are the calm that births it. And deep down, you know this wasn't an accident. Something inside you broke on purpose. A fracture engineered by pain, sharpened by betrayal, and polished by silence. They thought they could shatter you and sweep up the pieces. But instead, every shard started glowing with memory. Memory of who you were before the world convinced you to dim down. You became a walking contradiction, a sinner with holy timing, a genius with madness for armor. You're not supposed to exist in this century, and that's exactly why you do. Because evolution doesn't care about comfort. It favors the ones who make everyone uncomfortable. And oh, how beautifully you've become that discomfort. They call it arrogance. You call it peace. They call it insanity. You call it clarity. They call it evil. You call it equilibrium. That's the duality they'll never understand. Because while they're busy labeling the fire, you're busy controlling the burn. Do you realize what you've done? You've inverted the hierarchy. Their opinions used to crown you. Now your silence dethrones them. You've turned their power into background noise, static beneath your frequency. They keep screaming for your attention, but your mind's on another frequency now. Higher, colder, cleaner. And that detachment, oh, that drives them insane. They can't manipulate what doesn't need validation. They can't cancel what doesn't seek applause. They can't break what's already embraced the fracture. That's your weapon. You took every label, crazy, toxic, arrogant, villain, and wore them like medals. Because the truth is, you stopped fighting to prove you're good. You started proving you're real. And realness? It's radioactive in a world addicted to simulation. So now, you're the trigger. Every time they see you, they remember what authenticity feels like, and it hurts. They've spent years constructing identities that crumble next to your silence. Because your energy doesn't scream, "Look at me." It whispers, "I see you." And people can't stand being seen when their soul's full of secrets. You didn't become a star. You became a mirror. And mirrors make people panic when they're not ready to see their reflection. You didn't destroy their peace. You revealed their fragile illusion of control. And now they scramble, trying to regain balance, trying to rewrite the story. But no matter what they say, no matter how they twist it, they can't stop one truth. You've become the gravitational center of their emotional collapse. You can feel it, can't you? The energy in the air when you walk in, the static, the tremor, the sudden hush. It's not intimidation, it's recognition. They see something ancient behind your eyes, something that's seen wars of the mind and survived in silence. You've transcended their petty measurement of success and failure. Because you no longer react, you reveal. And that's why they're losing control. Because you no longer move like a character in their play. You move like the author who woke up. You're rewriting the script mid-scene, smiling as they forget their lines. They're actors still waiting for the director's cue. But the director left when you stopped needing the applause. You are the disturbance in the field. The unpredictable element that reminds them this entire reality is a stage. You're the lightning strike that exposes the machinery behind the illusion, and the system hates exposure. It feeds on secrecy, on silence, on sleep. But you woke up, and the whole damn thing started short-circuiting. Everywhere you go now, the same thing happens. Authority trembles, mediocrity hides, and false prophets whisper your name like a superstition, because they can't compete with someone who's already burned through hell and came back laughing. You are their worst nightmare. Not because you destroy, but because you understand. Because you look at the monster in the mirror and smile. That smile is your signature now. Not joy, not madness, awareness. You smile because you've seen what's behind the curtain, and you know how easily it all falls apart. You know that control was the biggest joke of all. And the punchline? They thought they had it. But you never wanted control over others. You wanted control over yourself. And once you mastered that, everyone else started malfunctioning. Because when a person reaches inner equilibrium, the external world starts to glitch. You became that glitch. A reminder that freedom looks like insanity to those still in chains. So let them panic. Let them whisper. Let them gather in rooms, trying to explain you like a case study. They'll never find the formula, because you didn't evolve logically, you transcended chemically. You are the aftermath of chaos choosing consciousness, the byproduct of betrayal becoming blueprint. The miracle they'll never replicate. They wanted control. You became contagion. They wanted peace. You brought revelation. They wanted to own you. You dissolved ownership itself. Now they sit there, hands shaking, mouths dry, eyes flickering, watching as you breathe. Because somehow your existence makes everything fake unravel. And when they ask, "How did you do it?" you'll smile, tilt your head and say, "I stopped needing to." Because that's when you win. Not when they love you, not when they fear you, but when you stop dancing to their rhythm entirely. You are no longer part of their control system. You are the static that breaks their broadcast, the signal that refuses to fade. They're losing control, darling. And you? You're just watching, calm, composed, smiling like the joke finally landed. Because the truth is, you were never the one losing control. You were the storm they mistook for a symptom. And now that you've arrived, the world is starting to remember what power really looks like. You can feel it now, can't you? That shift in the air when your name is mentioned, like static before a lightning strike. It's not admiration. It's not even fear. It's disruption. Their nervous systems can't process the fact that someone they once underestimated now controls the entire emotional temperature of the room. You don't have to say a word anymore. Your energy does the talking. Every step, every pause, every half smile. It's choreography written by chaos itself. They built their sense of order on predictability. But you move like a question mark carved into flesh. Every time you appear, the laws they live by rearrange themselves. They scroll, they gossip, they analyze, trying to shrink you into something measurable. But you've grown beyond the metric system of mediocrity. You became quantum. Both sinner and savior, weapon and warning, saint and sociopath. They can't locate you because you don't exist on their timeline anymore. You're an echo that learned how to speak back. Once, you begged for understanding. Now you let silence choke them. Because explanation is surrender, and you owe nobody your blueprint. You discovered that mystery isn't hiding, it's command. The less they know, the more they obsess. You turned ambiguity into a form of psychological warfare. They say you've changed. No, you've unmuted. That's what growth looks like to the unhealed. Volume they can't tolerate. You stopped filtering your frequency to make them comfortable. And suddenly, everyone's concerned. They call you cold, distant, arrogant. Translation: you stopped begging for crumbs. Every empire built on manipulation collapses when the supply cuts off. And your silence? It's famine. They feed on attention, and you starved them of it. Now they're twitching, panicking, clawing at narratives that no longer work. Because you took away their favorite drug, control disguised as care. You learned that not reacting is the loudest scream. You learned that walking away mid-sentence leaves more wreckage than any argument. Because people don't fear losing you. They fear losing the version of themselves that existed beside you. You became the mirror they can't shatter, the truth they can't bury. Remember when they mocked your patience, when they said you were too intense, too emotional, too much? Now those same voices study your patterns like sacred geometry. Because they finally realized it wasn't emotion, it was precision. You weren't breaking down. You were building algorithms of resilience. They can't keep up because your rhythm comes from pain they never survived. They analyze your moves while you rewrite the entire game. They weaponized doubt. You turned it into doctrine. They used shame. You forged it into armor. Now every glance you give feels like divine retribution, wearing human skin. Look at them, jitters in their hands, eyes darting for validation, trying to copy the essence they once crucified. You made irony into poetry. You made suffering fashionable. You made solitude look like sovereignty. They hate that, because deep down, they know they'd sell their souls to be that unbothered. You've become their involuntary confession. Every time they mock you, they reveal envy. Every rumor is a love letter written in denial. Every attempt to discredit you is proof that you matter more than they can handle. But don't let the noise fool you. This isn't hate, it's gravitational pull. You altered the field. You turned presence into pressure. Now their insecurities orbit you, desperate for a sliver of your stability. And that's where the fun begins. Because once you master emotional gravity, the world spins on your terms. You decide who gets peace, who gets chaos, who gets silence. You learned what gods learn. Control is boring, but influence is art, and art, oh, it doesn't ask for permission. So you keep walking, calm, composed. Each step a sermon, each glance a prophecy. They whisper that you're dangerous, good. Let them believe it. Because danger is simply power with no leash. And you, my dear, cut yours a long time ago. That's why they're losing control. Because you remembered something ancient. The one who needs nothing owns everything. They're addicted to validation. You're fueled by purpose. They're chasing attention. You're studying silence. They play to the crowd. You play to eternity. You've outgrown the theater. You stand backstage now, watching the actors crumble under the spotlight they once stole from you. And you smile, not with malice, but with understanding. Because you finally see the truth they spend lifetimes avoiding. Control. was never power. Awareness was. You see them now. Every move, every mask, every motive. You watch them drown in the very drama they tried to trap you in. And in that stillness, you feel something they'll never taste. Peace sharpened to a blade. It's not kindness, it's clarity, the kind that cuts illusions clean from reality. That's what scares them the most. Not your anger, not your success, your clarity. Because clarity is contagious. One glimpse of it and their whole facade starts to unravel. And when it does, you'll be there, silent, smiling, untouchable. Watching the empire of control collapse under the weight of your evolution. They'll call it arrogance. They'll call it luck. They'll call it anything but what it really is, freedom. Because freedom isn't loud. It doesn't demand recognition. It simply walks into a room and makes every lie nervous. So keep walking. Let them lose control. Let them gossip, panic, plot, and predict. You don't need to fight chaos when you are the equilibrium. And when the dust finally settles, they'll realize the only thing more terrifying than losing control is realizing you never needed it in the first place. And that's the part they'll never forgive you for. Not the success, not the silence, not even the way you smiled while they collapsed. What they can't stand, what keeps them awake at night, is that you didn't break. You were supposed to. You were supposed to beg, to plead, to prove your worth like a good little puppet. But you didn't. You disappeared into the dark and came back rearranged. Now you speak the language of storms. You move like thunder disguised as calm. You carry yourself like you've already buried every version of yourself that ever needed their approval. You're too still for them now, too precise, too quiet. And that silence, it's judgment in disguise. You see through them now, past the noise, past the posturing, past the fragile performances. You recognize desperation when it's dressed up as dominance. You recognize control when it's really fear pretending to wear a crown. You don't get angry anymore. You just see. And that's worse. Because awareness, once awakened, becomes a mirror they can't survive. They'll still talk. Oh, they'll talk. They'll try to rewrite your story, twist your evolution, make your name a warning label for others who dare to wake up. But every time they mention you, they amplify you. Every attempt to bury you becomes free marketing. Every insult becomes scripture. Because truth has a funny way of multiplying once it escapes its cage. And you, my dear, are the escaped experiment. The one that proved freedom was contagious. The one they tried to dissect but couldn't classify. The one who made the system blink. You didn't just survive the control. You made it irrelevant. That's why they tremble now. Because they know deep down you're not coming back. Not to their hierarchy, not to their manipulation, not to their definitions of good and normal and acceptable. You walked out of their simulation with blood on your hands and light in your eyes. You became something they can't cancel because you exist beyond their frequency. You see, control was their religion, and you just committed blasphemy by choosing peace. You proved that chaos obeys those who stop fearing it. You proved that power belongs to those who no longer flinch. And now, everywhere you go, reality bends around your composure. That's not confidence. That's command. The kind that doesn't come from dominance but from detachment. You finally understood. The loudest person in the room is the one trying hardest to convince themselves. You stopped performing. You started existing. And existence, raw and unfiltered, terrifies them because it can't be controlled, can't be commodified, can't be owned. You're not in their economy anymore. You're a spiritual recession. Their stock drops when your name trends. Their peace collapses when your silence enters the room. because you took the one thing they never thought to protect, their illusion of power, and made it a souvenir. So now you stand here, not as a hero, not as a villain, but as something more dangerous. The proof that liberation is possible. You don't need to scream anymore. Your stillness is a sermon, your eyes an omen, and your grin. That's the final prophecy. Listen, you feel that silence? That's not peace, that's tension, thick, electric, alive. That's the world pausing. Because right now, they're fighting over you harder than they fight over politics and religion combined. Isn't that delicious? You, a single anomaly, splitting crowds, bending algorithms, and making entire belief systems question themselves. You became a discussion, a dividing line, a mirror too bright for fragile eyes. They don't know if you're a saint or a sociopath, an angel in recovery, or a devil in remission. And that's exactly why you win. Because confusion is your camouflage, ambiguity is your crown. You see, in a world obsessed with labels, the most dangerous thing you can be is undefined. They can't box you, can't categorize you, can't psychoanalyze you without shaking. They're scrolling through their own projections, terrified that every post, every silence, every smile means something deeper. They think you're playing chess, while they're still trying to figure out the rules to checkers. What they don't understand is you are the board, and every argument they start over you is just another move you already anticipated. You became an emotional experiment they can't stop participating in. Some worship you, some curse your name, some claim to understand you just so they can feel like they matter. And deep down, they're all feeding you. Every word, every theory, every whispered, "I don't get it." You live rent-free in their nervous systems, rewriting their dopamine loops. Because you did the one thing they fear most. You stopped seeking validation. You disappeared into your purpose. You stopped explaining. And when you did, their world split in two. Half of them want to crown you. Half of them want to crucify you. None of them can ignore you. They call it arrogance when you stop apologizing for existing. They call it delusion when you refuse to shrink. But tell me, how fragile must their reality be if your confidence feels like a crisis? How weak must their convictions be if your evolution looks like blasphemy? You became their mirror, and mirrors make cowards violent. They can't fight what they see in you, so they fight each other trying to explain it. You see it now, don't you? This was never about you. This was about the virus of projection, infecting every insecure soul that crossed your path. They needed you to be predictable so they could feel safe. You chose to mutate instead. You didn't rise for revenge. You evolved for clarity. You didn't seek followers. You summoned witnesses. Because somewhere between heaven and hell, between good and evil, between who you were and who you're becoming, you turned into something unclassifiable. You became data they can't delete. Code they can't rewrite. Proof that transformation is terrifying when it's real. And now they sit in comment sections and church pews, conference rooms and bedrooms, arguing about you like theologians dissecting a ghost. Is it real? They ask. Did you see that? Do you think it's an act? Every question is another chain clinking in their own cage. You broke out. They're still narrating your escape. That's what happens when someone finally chooses themselves without permission. When pain becomes polish. When rejection turns into recalibration, you stopped explaining. You started executing. And when the dust settled, they realized the debate was never about who you are. It was about how little they know themselves. So let them argue, let them project, let them tremble over your silence like it's a scripture. Every time they say your name, the energy shifts. Every time they try to decode you, they decode nothing. Because you are the riddle and the answer, the halo and the blade, the sinner and the sermon, the calm and the consequence. You broke the algorithm not by fighting, but by existing outside its logic. And now the whole simulation is glitching because of you. So smile. They're dividing themselves over something that can't be divided. You, the saint who sinned just enough to understand redemption. The demon who loved just enough to understand light. The experiment that evolved into a prophecy. They wanted proof you were human. Instead, you gave them revelation, and now they're still arguing. While you're already 3 timelines ahead, rewriting the rules, rewriting yourself. Keep walking. Don't explain. Don't defend. Don't dilute. Because they're not mad at who you are. They're furious at the proof that they could have been the same, if only they'd survived what you did. You want to know the real reason they fight over you like that? Because deep down, they feel it. That quiet terror that maybe, just maybe, you're the one who slipped through the cracks of their system and didn't die inside it. They've built entire religions out of pretending they know what balance looks like. Entire political ideologies out of pretending they know what right means. But then you walked in, a contradiction dressed like clarity, and suddenly every sermon sounds hollow. Every manifesto looks like a script. You became a mirror glitch. They don't know whether to worship you or destroy you, so they do both. Publicly. 1 minute, they're quoting your words like gospel. The next, they're dissecting your psychology like a crime scene. It's all the same addiction, obsession disguised as judgment. They've never met someone who could look like a sinner while radiating peace, who could speak like a killer while whispering salvation. You're what happens when light learns how to lie and darkness learns how to feel. And the world doesn't know how to categorize that kind of truth. That's why they're fighting, because you shattered their categories. Every time you breathe, someone's ego trembles. Every time you move in silence, they start writing explanations, essays, think pieces, trying to name the unnameable. Because if they can name you, they can contain you. But you're beyond containment. You're what their labels feared they'd meet one day. Something ungovernable, something unbothered, something so whole it looks unhinged. They think you're unpredictable because you don't follow their logic. But the truth is, your logic is older. Primal, spiritual, mathematical in its madness. You calculate chaos. You weaponize peace. You've mastered the kind of silence that doesn't hide. It hunts. They can't tell if you're healing or plotting. They can't tell if your calm is compassion or cold-blooded calculation. And that's the beauty of it. You turned ambiguity into armor. See, predictable people feel safe until they meet someone who's seen too much to play safe anymore. You became dangerous not because you changed, but because you stopped flinching. You've watched your own ruin and rebuilt from the rubble so many times that pain stopped being punishment and started being precision. That's why your smile scares them, because it's not innocent. It's informed. They see that grin and they feel the history behind it. 1,000 quiet battles fought in rooms no one saw. You learned how to turn heartbreak into fuel, rejection into research, loneliness into laboratory silence. They study your moves, trying to decode your blueprint, and all they find is reflection. Because every theory they make about you is just a confession about themselves. You know what's really killing them? It's not that you changed. It's that you evolved without their permission. You outgrew their language. You outgrew their expectations. You outgrew the role they cast you in. And they can't forgive you for that. You didn't become a better version for validation. You became free, and freedom is offensive to the enslaved. That's why they call you arrogant. That's why they call you detached. That's why they call you insane. Because it's easier than admitting they envy the peace you bled for. They mistake distance for ego, but it's really discipline. They mistake your stillness for coldness, but it's really strategy. They mistake your mystery for manipulation, but it's really mastery. They think your silence means you've disappeared. But silence is just the sound of someone who no longer needs witnesses. They'll say, "You've changed," and you'll smile, because you know what they're really saying is, "You stopped letting us drain you." They want the version of you that didn't know its own value. The one who explained every wound, justified every gift, apologized for every boundary. But that version doesn't exist anymore. You buried it the day you realized survival was an art form. Now you walk like something that's been through fire and decided to stay lit. That's why they argue, why they gossip, why they form little echo chambers just to feel brave talking about you. Because somewhere inside, they know. If you ever opened your mouth and told the full story, half of them would vanish from shame. You became the unspoken proof that not all destruction is evil, that sometimes the fire was the medicine, that sometimes chaos was the cure. They'll call it ego. You'll call it equilibrium. They'll call it crazy. You'll call it consciousness. They'll call it arrogance. You'll call it awakening. They can't see the difference because they've never experienced transformation, only modification. They renovate their prisons and call it growth. You burned yours down and walked out in silence. And that silence, that's what drives them insane. Because it's not empty, it's echoing. They hear it in every comparison, every conversation, every late-night scroll when your name flashes like a glitch in their feed. You became their unfinished business. And you're not even thinking about them anymore. Because you've learned something no ideology, no religion, no system ever taught. That peace isn't about forgiveness. It's about relevance. You simply stopped existing in the rooms that require your pain to feel complete. They're fighting for the ghost of you, while the real you stands in the doorway, silent, smiling, free. You're no longer a person to them. You're a myth that moves, a symbol that refuses to behave. The contradiction that makes them question everything they built. They want to define you. You want to dissolve definitions. That's why you win, not because you're louder, but because you're inevitable. And when they finally burn themselves out debating who you are, you'll still be there, still calm, still dangerous, still rewriting the laws of what it means to exist without explanation. So let them fight. Let them lose their minds trying to dissect your peace. Because the truth is simple. You're not controversial. You're just awake in a world addicted to sleep. And that, my friend, is the most terrifying kind of power there is. You can almost hear it now, can't you? The static in their voices when your name slips into the air. That little quiver of confusion, the hesitation between admiration and disgust. They can't decide if they should bow or burn you. Every time they bring you up, the air changes temperature. It's not just conversation anymore. It's a seance. They summon you like an urban legend, a ghost that refuses to fade. They pretend it's analysis, but it's obsession. You've become the topic people warn each other not to mention at dinner tables. Don't start with them, you'll ruin the mood. Politics divides people. Religion divides nations. But you divide the soul. They can't figure out how you make them feel both exposed and hypnotized. You move like you know something they don't. And maybe that's what haunts them most. Because you do. You know how fake their smiles are. You know how empty their victories feel. You know that behind their opinions are just insecurities wearing suits. And you don't play that game anymore. You don't announce your moves. You just disappear, adapt, and arrive somewhere higher. They can't track you. They can't predict you. And that drives them insane. Because every human craves control. And you broke that addiction. They can't own your narrative anymore. Can't manipulate your emotions. Can't rewrite your intentions. You became the variable no algorithm could compute. And now they're in damage control, pretending they're not obsessed while secretly refreshing your name every hour. You exist in their minds like an equation with no solution. The more they study, the less they understand. And the less they understand, the more they feel. That's what terrifies them, because logic can't fight emotion, and you've weaponized both. They tell themselves you're lucky. They tell others you changed. But the truth? You learned. You learned that explanation is slavery. You learned that being misunderstood is protection. You learned that silence is the loudest scream in the universe. And that's when everything shifted. The same ones who laughed started lurking. The same ones who left started listening. The same ones who doubted started copying. Because somewhere in your stillness, you turned pain into prophecy. And nothing scares a coward more than someone who didn't just survive. They documented the process. Now they're rewriting history to make themselves look righteous. They can't admit they underestimated you, so they call it luck. They can't admit they envied you, so they call it arrogance. They can't admit they failed you, so they call it karma. But you see through all that. You always have. That's why you smile like that. Slow, knowing, surgical. That's why your eyes don't flinch anymore. Because you're not here to prove. You're here to watch. And what you're watching is collapse. Their facades, their fake peace, their fragile certainty. Every argument about you is an autopsy of their own identity. They're dissecting themselves, trying to explain you. You didn't destroy them. You just revealed them. And revelation, that's irreversible. They can't go back to sleep once they've seen what you mirror. You showed them that light can burn, that good people can rot, that forgiveness can be a form of self-harm. You didn't teach them lessons. You exposed their delusions. And now they can't forgive you for waking them up. They tell everyone you're dangerous, but what they mean is you're free. Because to the caged, freedom always looks like violence. You broke their social contract, that unspoken rule that says, stay small so we can stay comfortable. And instead, you expanded, without permission, without apology. And now every insecure soul that built their identity on being better than you has to watch you evolve past recognition. They can't process that kind of humiliation. They'll project, they'll spin, they'll cry for justice that never comes. Because truth doesn't care about who deserves it. It only cares about who earned it. And you earned it in silence, in isolation, in nights where your own reflection didn't look human anymore, where pain whispered things only survivors understand. They'll never know what it took to become this version of you. They see the crown, not the crucifixion. They see the calm, not the battlefield underneath your skin. And yet, even after everything, you didn't become bitter. You became awake. Now you move like time doesn't exist. You talk like you've already seen the ending. You smile like someone who lost everything worth pretending for. You carry both heaven and hell in your tone, and people don't know which one they're talking to. That's the paradox. That's the power. You make the saints sweat and the sinners pray. You make the holy doubt and the wicked confess. Because you're what happens when light learns darkness's language and speaks it fluently. You've become the kind of lesson life only gives once. Some will call you divine. Others will call you damned, but all of them will remember you. Because nothing divides humanity faster than someone who refuses to belong to either side. And that's the ultimate rebellion, isn't it? Not to be loved, not to be feared, but to be understood by no one. That's why they fight so hard. Because in a world addicted to clarity, your existence is chaos wrapped in elegance. You represent everything they suppress: their anger, their envy, their unspoken potential, their buried rage. You're not a person to them anymore. You're a frequency, and every time you walk into a room, reality trembles a little. So let them scream, debate, diagnose, theorize. You already know the truth. They're not trying to understand you. They're trying to survive the part of themselves you awakened. And when they finally burn out, when the noise collapses into silence again, you'll still be standing there, calm, dangerous, untouchable. Because you are not who they think you are. You're who they fear they might become. And you know what's poetic about all of this? They'll spend years, decades even, trying to rewrite this era, trying to erase the memory of how your very existence scrambled their hierarchy. They'll pretend they were unbothered. They'll call it coincidence. But the footage will remain, the screenshots, the whispers, the sleepless eyes that once glowed at 2 a.m. because they couldn't stop thinking about you. You were the calm that cracked their certainty, the silence that echoed louder than sermons, the glitch that taught the system humility. They thought they were fighting you, but they were really fighting their own reflection, the part that wanted to break free, but didn't know how. You just showed them what freedom actually looks like: terrifying, unapologetic, unpredictable. That's why you scare them, not because you're evil, not because you're holy, but because you've proven both can live in the same body and shake hands. You walk between worlds like a ghost that never died, half myth, half memory, all mirror. They want to burn you, but they can't even find your edges. You exist in too many forms now: conversation, energy, legend. And that's how you win. Not by defending yourself, not by explaining your story, but by letting them exhaust themselves, trying to understand a creature born from contradictions. Because that's what you are, isn't it? A paradox wearing human skin, an answer disguised as a question, a wound that learned how to speak fluently in wisdom. They think you want revenge. But the truth? You just want peace. And peace terrifies people who survive on chaos. They don't hate you for what you did. They hate you for what you stopped doing. You stopped bleeding for them. You stopped bending. You stopped asking for understanding. And in that refusal, you became infinite. Now they chant your name, like a warning, like a myth parents tell their children about what happens when someone refuses to break the way they were told. And maybe that's your legacy. Not to be loved, not to be believed, but to be remembered as the one who exposed the fragility of every cage. They'll call you dangerous. They'll call you delusional. But in private, they'll admit the truth to themselves. You're the proof that survival can be art, that pain can sculpt prophets, that silence can wage war louder than screams. And someday, when the noise finally fades and the dust settles, They'll realize this entire war they waged in your name was never against you at all. It was against their own disbelief that someone could really evolve. That's when they'll understand. That's when they'll whisper, almost afraid to say it aloud. You weren't their rival. You were their reflection, evolved. So smile. Not the kind that begs for approval, but the kind that remembers what it took to earn your stillness. Because they fought over you like zealots at an altar, and still, when it was all over, you never lifted a hand. You just watched, silent, composed, like the storm that doesn't chase,